Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I am so excited to be chatting with you. I am Narissa Sue, the host of the Lioness Method podcast. And today we have the absolute pleasure of chatting with Kelly Charles Collins, the founder and CEO of Ladies of Leverage. Kelly empowers women to leverage their expertise, their resources, and their relationships to build their business, brand, and badassery. A retired attorney, award-winning TEDx speaker, author, and mentor, Kelly is on a mission to create safe spaces for women to create influence and impact and unapologetically own their power so they can live the life they've always envisioned. Amazing. I love that intro. Thank you so much for being with us today, Kelly. I'm really excited.
Thank you, Miss.
Yes. So I would love to just kick this off by asking you, well, I have so many questions for you, but we would love to know all about who you serve, a little bit more about the women that you serve. I know it's somewhat in your bio, but tell us all about it.
Sure. So Ladies Who Leverage is for women entrepreneurs, women who have a side hustle, and women who are in transition. So we cover the gamut of women in their professions. And the whole goal, I started Ladies Who Leverage last March. And the whole reason that I started it was because I hate networking. And I wanted a space, well, traditional networking in terms of having to go to some place and an event and then having to play the game of, business card bingo or, well, how's your dog? And, all that kind of stuff before I could really say to you, hey, I'm in business. This is what I'm doing. Is there some way that you and I could have a discussion to see if we have a mutually beneficial, connection? And so I wanted to take away all of the fluff so that women could just be in a space that was safe, that was non-judgmental, that was non-competitive, so that they could ask for what they wanted and what they need in order to move either their career forward or move their business forward. And so it started out just as a Facebook group. I really hadn't thought of what it could be. And over the past year, I really realized what I have created in terms of Ladies Who Leverage. And so we're in the midst of a transition of really making it something bigger. But the whole goal behind it is to create influence and impact in the world and to impact young women and young girls so that they can see there's all types of women in this world who are doing all types of amazing things and that they can do it too.
I love that so much. And a point that you made too is you were just speaking about competition. And I think that that's, been a big topic for a lot of women because, if we look at the media and different things, then I think it really encourages competition among women. So what are some ways that you are allowing that or creating that safe space so women really feel comfortable enough and are incentivized not to compete with each other?
Well, first of all, our stand in Ladies Who Leverage is we don't compete, we Collabosource. So from the very beginning, one of the things that
I love that Collabosource.
Yeah, one of the tenets of Ladies Who Leverage is Collabosourcing. And that is a way of working together to support each other, refer each other, hire each other. Right. And so it's not just a space where because we're in this group together, it's like, oh, give me the sister discount. No, I have a business, right? You have a business. Now, if you want to do whatever you want to do in terms of negotiating, that's fine. But it's really about respect. And because I believe I belong everywhere I am, and because I believe that there is enough for everyone and that we should, operate out of abundance and not scarcity, I've created a space where the women who come into that space also feel that and understand that. And part of it is in our, we have two levels in Ladies Who Leverage. So one is our Facebook group where everybody's in the Facebook group. And then we have Ladies Who Leverage investors. And the investors meet twice a month in what we call summits, which are like mini masterminds. And so in that space, we really get to know each other. And so you understand that these women are really here to support you. They're not here to judge you. They're not here to take anything from you. We're all just in this space. And that's what you can see even in the Facebook group, in the post. I really have taken, have made it my mission that there's no garbage going on, no foolishness going on within the group. And it really is a very supportive atmosphere. Now, it doesn't mean that we just always rah-rah and cheerlead, right? We may give you loving feedback. We'll tell you, no, we don't think that that's the right way for you to go. But I really just created and curated a space where people feel comfortable to be able to do the things and to understand that, yeah, if you're here to and competition is not a bad thing. So let me say this, competition is not a bad thing. We all compete for different things, right? We compete for our clients, we compete for jobs, we compete for those things. Competition is bad when it is a negative, when you think that because in order for me to succeed, I have to take from you. That's when competition becomes bad. Competition in the sense of like pushing each other is not a bad thing.
I love that distinction so much because it's such a mindset shift. There we go. There's the words. And if you come into a relationship with an open mind, with the intention to give to the other woman, with the intention to give support, then you can never be taken advantage of, right? Because you're giving from a place of love. You're giving your resources because you want to, not because you think you're going to get something back, or you're, for any other reason than just to share, right? And to see the sisters grow and trade resources. Because ultimately, I also believe that when we're stronger together, that when we pair up, we collaborate, that we're only going to rise faster and we get things done quicker. And the people that we serve only benefit so much more, and our families ultimately benefit.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but a lot of the clients that I work with who are business owners and entrepreneurs are generally the breadwinners in their household. So they're very alpha female, very type A personalities, very high achieving. And I'm
a former lawyer, so I'm all of those.
I consider myself a recovery type A because I've learned to step back and just not get into stress. I found all kinds of beautiful ways to not be in the stress body. But yeah, I think that that's so beautiful that you're creating that space and offering that to women. And it also sounds like you have reinvented yourself a few times. You have books that you've written, multiple career tracks that you've been on. What are some of the challenges that you face as an entrepreneur, kind of getting this next phase of your business up and running?
For me, this journey is different in that I've been an entrepreneur before, but I was the side hustler, right? So sometimes, and I've also been a full-time entrepreneur before, but doing things that were more creative. What has been harder for me is having to really build the business and having to go out and figure out who's your ideal client and getting your ideal client and the sales part of it. I won't say I can't, because I shouldn't say I can't, but it is one of the more challenging. It is one of the more challenging things for me is around sales. And thank goodness for my coaches that I've had that have really helped me to move along that. But it's still one of the things that is challenging to me. I like what I do with Ladies Who Leverage, which is, to create these spaces and just have the conversations and facilitate discussions. And when I was a practicing lawyer for 24 years, in all the firms that I never really had to bring in business, right? I would come to work. I would have my clients. I would do my work. I would go home. I would work basically all day and all night. But I never had to do that part of it, the building of the business. And I regret that in some ways, because I wish that when I was a younger lawyer, that was taught to me. The whole goal of business development, I wish I had learned those skills because they would have served me well now. So now I have to learn that, and that's fine. And I'm learning a lot of different things in this particular journey as an entrepreneur. When I've done it before, I've just really been doing it, right? I was winging it. And I was fortunate that I was successful when I did it before. But looking back, I could see, how now having all the different coaches that I have, I think I have 4 coaches right now.
Which is amazing. Just for our listeners, don't ever trust a coach who doesn't have a coach.
Yeah, I have like 4 or 5 of them. And,
Yes.
and people, why do you have so many coaches? Because they're all teaching me different things. And so I think that's also important, to find the people who can teach you different things, because not everybody can teach you everything. Not one person can teach you everything.
Beautiful. And I've always found that the greater the leader, the more help that they need, because they know the value of having quick information from the best resources. So it really is about the quality of the people that you're selecting to be on your team. And your coaches are on your team, right? They're pivotal. Which is actually how we met, right? We met in Heather Havenwood's podcast challenge, which she's amazing. So, and
she's coaching me right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, she's a great coach. Very good person. If you guys are interested in learning about podcasts, look up Heather Havenwood.
I launched my podcast in a weekend.
Me too. We did it so quickly. It was so much fun. And look at the connections that we're creating out of it. So
absolutely.
So many beautiful benefits. So that's a great point that you bring up about sales, and just about all of the challenges that happen as we jump out into entrepreneurship. For me, I came from a sales background, so the sales part I knew, but it's all the other stuff. Like, I didn't know how to put together. Like, when the first time I opened Canva, I was like, oh my gosh, this is another language.
And that is like that's my love language, being in there and creating all that stuff. I'm a rabbit holer. I love being in those spaces, which wastes time, but I love it.
I don't think it's a waste of time. I've seen your graphics. They're beautiful. Okay. So I think that you're doing some amazing creative things in more ways than one, which is really what entrepreneurship is, right? Because we get to wear all the different hats. So you're the marketing department, you're the creative department, you're the sales department, right? You're the coach. And then eventually you hire a team, when you get to that point of growing. And there's just a lot of moving parts. So I love that you're sharing that we need that extra support.
Yeah. And when you talk about a team, sometimes we think about, and this has even been in my thought process, oh my gosh, I don't have enough to really have a team member. I don't have enough money to hire a team member. And even I sit here today and I'm like, I need an admin. But then I think, well, what's the admin going to do? And then I sit here and I'm like, oh yeah, an admin could be doing this, right? And I still don't, because I like all of I'm a very left brain, right brain person. And my right brain is dominant, which is interesting because I'm a lawyer. Right. And it's interesting because I'm a lawyer. So you would think my left brain logical side is more dominant. But for me, my right brain is more dominant. And so when that takes over and then I have to create, then I'm creating until I get all of that out. I can't do anything else. And so it makes it hard for me to bring people in. So I do have somebody who helps me with all my graphics, helps me a lot with my graphics, and I'll tell her, no, change this, change that. No, change that. I like to be in control, like change this. But this past year has been just an awesome journey for me. And, I don't only do Ladies Who Leverage, so I'm a professional speaker and I train employees on unconscious bias, bystander intervention.
I saw that you have several TEDx Talks, so you can check her out on YouTube. One. Okay. Yeah. You have multiple books though, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. All right. That's what I saw.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, I do that too. So that feeds the left brain. So it's just been a really awesome journey. And I'm looking forward to all the things that are coming, especially for Ladies Who Leverage.
I love that. And there's so many gems in there as well, I think, in just sharing the process, because I think there's ladies right now that are listening that might be in their corporate jobs wondering what the first step is to even jumping out into starting their own business. And so far you've shared that, it began as a side hustle. So it started with a dream, and then it kind of progressed from there, and now you're full blown. And the other thing that I love is Okay.
pushed into it.
Yeah, that happens too. I actually got laid off from my advertising agency, and I think that was the biggest blessing that ever happened in my
What?
life, because it really forced me to take an inventory and be like, who do you want to be next? What do you
Yeah.
want to be in this next chapter of your life, and what is it going to feel like? What is she going to be doing that's going to be serving the world in a great and powerful way, and having more fun and more time with my family. So,
Yeah.
which I think
I
that
call it
also
my
all.
freedom papers.
Oh, yes, I love that. Yes, freedom papers for sure. And we do get to learn all of those skills, right? And so it's learning a little bit about everything. But the other beautiful thing that I heard you kind of allude to is, we do need to hire out other people, and it's actually an honor to be able to hire a team. You put together your dream team to support you in the next phase. And one of the things that I've come up against recently is, no, I'm not going to shrink. I refuse to shrink. I am going to spend that money on that admin assistant. I'm going to
Yes.
spend the money on that coach, because it's an investment in myself, and it's an investment in the people that I'm going to serve, because it's only going to enrich their experience and allow them to move faster, to
Yeah.
transform quicker if they have the right tools and I'm supported in the right way. Is that an experience that you've had as well?
Yeah, because you think, if I spend this money, I'm not going to have this money. But then you have to think, if you don't spend that money, you're not going to get more money, right? You
Amen
have
to
to
that,
invest,
right?
right? You have to
Yeah.
invest in yourself. And
Mhm.
I've had to come around to that. That's not just something that I was like, oh yeah, just always go do that. That's
Mhm.
something that, that I've had to learn and just really go with it and just say, yes, I have to take this money and invest it in the business, because I need to invest. I need to collapse time. I need to
Mhm.
collapse time. I need to collapse knowledge, right? And so there's no need for me to then spend the next 6 months holding on to this money, trying to figure out how I could do all this stuff, when I could have paid somebody, and in 2 months I could figure out how to do it, because they've already done it. They've made the mistakes. So they'll tell me, don't do that. Here, do this instead. So I can get to more money faster, right? And so I think it's really important. And you don't have to, people say hire a team. A team could be one person,
Yes,
right? You have somebody
definitely.
on your team. It could be one person. It could be your admin. It could just be that person who takes away the time that you'd spend like opening emails or maybe responding to emails, so that you can go do something else that's revenue generating, right?
Mhm.
And so a team doesn't have to mean 10 people, 50 people, whatever. And I think sometimes when people hear that word, then it becomes daunting, because they're thinking
It could be
team.
a little intimidating.
Right. It could be somebody from Fiverr. It could be somebody from Upwork, whatever. As part of my team, I had somebody, a copywriter from Upwork, and I have, my VA who does a lot of my graphics and stuff. But those people are part of your team, and you can get those people to help you for not a huge investment, but the time that it takes away from what you are spending your time on not generating revenue is so worth it.
That's huge. And I think you just hit the nail on the head for sure. And I think the other part of this, as leaders, we're used to being in a corporate setting where we already have a built out team and there's already resources and all these things available. So we don't actually have to ask ourselves too many hard questions like, what kind of leader am I? What are my personal values? What makes me tick, and is going to help my little company, tiny but mighty in the beginning, really run. So I think it is about, as a leader, knowing your strengths and then hiring out your weaknesses. So it might not be that you need an admin. Maybe you need an accountant. Like me, I have a
Yeah.
bookkeeper. So like, I'm not gonna lie that it's not my strength, right? So we hire our weaknesses, and we ask for help in the areas that we know it's not going to get done if we don't
Yeah.
have somebody there to help us.
Yeah. And I think the risk, even for your strengths, maybe it's having somebody who is as good as yours, or, a little bit better than you, so that may be a partnership, as opposed to, them taking away something from you in terms of taking it off your plate. It may be enhancing what's on your plate, right? So that you multiply right? Your ability to be wherever. So it's a way to scale. That's another way to scale, to have people who are kind of at your level. I think about that within Ladies Who Leverage, of how there's all ranges of women within our group, in terms of business savvy, where they are in their business. And so that whole gamut and spectrum of having women together in all of those spaces, I think, is what makes Ladies Who Leverage so wonderful, because you have women who can, tell you, yep, I did that. Oh, or somebody looking up to say, hey, can you help me to do this? How would I do this? And we all work together, really, well in that space. So, we think sometimes that we have to get people to take things off of our plate that we don't really want to do. But it may not be that. It might be that we just need somebody to come on so that they can enhance or help us to multiply what we're doing.
I love that point. That is definitely spot on too. I know Steve Jobs, and when I read his book, he always talked about how the best leaders always hire up. They hire employees that are smarter than them, that are going to bring the good ideas, that can do things faster. And then their job was truly just to focus on the vision and keep the train on the tracks. And again, this really does apply. I love the word collabosource. Is that what it was?
Yeah, collabosource.
Yeah, because I think that takes the competition out of it. When you view everybody that you meet, you're looking at them saying, how can I serve you? How can we serve each other and use each other's strengths and really be able to lean on each other and help each other grow our businesses? And I think that's when the magic really happens.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. And it has been magic. It is way more, what has happened over this past year is way more than I ever envisioned when I started Ladies Who Leverage. But now when you talk about the vision, I have the vision. I see the vision.
Tell us about your vision. I want to hear more.
So the vision for Ladies Who Leverage is, so if you spend any time in Clubhouse, you
just
see
a little bit. I might be a little bit addicted. That's also Heather's fault.
Right, absolutely. But you see what's happening in Clubhouse in terms of the power of association and bringing people together. And I know that in Ladies Who Leverage, we have some powerhouse women in Ladies Who Leverage, and powerhouses in their own right? And I know that the women that are in that group, they can be the global leaders in this space, in this world, for people to look to. Ladies Who Leverage, my vision and for Ladies Who Leverage is to be the global leader for women, to understand that that's the place that you come to if you want to create influence and impact and want to make a positive change in the world. And so I'm working on that. I am working on us really understanding, one, that we belong everywhere that we are. And two, that we can own our power and live life unapologetically AF. And so I'm
like, yes, I feel that right there.
And so I'm writing a new book, which will come out in July. And the book is 51 Ways to Unleash Your Badassery and Live Life Unapologetically AF.
Oh my goodness, that's fire.
Yeah.
That's going to be amazing.
So you were talking about taking risks and doing things. And I was talking to Heather today, because we had coaching earlier, and I was talking to her. I said, you know what? I decided I want to do a book launch. I said, I want to do a book tour. I want to do like a mini city book tour. And this is what I want for this new book. And I said, I want it to be, I said, think of, what Oprah did with her tour and Yael and Vincent did with their tour, where it's really just about having these powerful conversations. And just so
connecting with people.
Yeah, and connecting with people. So that's my goal. We'll see, because COVID is trying to put a damper on everything. But that is my goal. Is the book is going to be released July 27th, and so I'm focused on that, and Heather's going to help me with that, with putting the tour together, and she's actually going to write the foreword for the book. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, that's amazing. That's powerful right there. And what was your inspiration behind writing the book during this time? Like, why do you feel like it's going to be more valuable than any other time to be able to publish that work?
Because I just think women need to hear it, right? They need to be able to read it, so that they can continue to read it and so that it just becomes a part of who they are. So this whole month, what we've done in Ladies Who Leverage, we've been doing this series called What's the Tea? Every Friday. So this Friday
I
is
saw your panel.
is our last series. And we've just been talking about issues that impact women personally and professionally. And I just believe that when women have these conversations and they see other women having these conversations and they can hear, right, then it will give you the courage, because that's what we really need, right? We all have our voices. Sometimes we don't amplify our voices. Sometimes we can't amplify our voices, but we have them. And so, these are things that have helped me throughout my life. All the things that I've done throughout my life, I've been it's of everything throughout my life. And so it's really the lessons that I have, the ways that I have been able to maneuver losing 2 six-figure jobs, being on welfare when I was, 20 and a 21-year-old single parent who had to put her child under the desk, having my car repossessed. But, always
that's real life stuff. That is real life stuff.
Right. And so it's just it's gonna be the cutest book. It's 6.5 by 6.5. And it's just one of those things that you can just open. You don't have to read chapter to chapter. You're not gonna lose anything. It's just these different ways. And one day you just might say, what does Kelly mean by sit, not stay? Right. And so you get to go and see that when I talk about sit, don't stay, what I mean is when we have something exciting that happens to us, or we have something horrible that happens to us, sit in the moment so that you can acknowledge that that has occurred. However, don't stay there, because if you stay there, there's no forward movement, there's no progress, whether it was good or bad, right? So those are just things that I say all the time and have been saying over, my life.
That all by itself is such a concept. Like somebody listening right now is like, oh my gosh, that just hit me right where I needed it. Because I think far too often as women, we do stay in places where we're not appreciated, where our voice is not being heard. And like you said, if you have the ability to have your voice heard, you should be using it. It's and it's not about being perfect. We're all learning as we go along. It's just about, continuing to reach out, because you're already impacting women, but I can just see that your vision is going to be impacting thousands and thousands of women. It's so incredibly powerful. So I'm so excited for your book to come out.
Me too. I got to finish
it. She's like, well, I'm almost done writing it. I love that. Well, I would love to also ask you a little bit about foundational questions, because I know entrepreneurship can be really daunting. There's lots of stress involved. And also I think that we have to have mind, body, spirit all in check to have our business in flow. So what role does spirituality have in your business and just in keeping balance in your life?
Well, I believe that everything happens for a reason. So I'm not a religious person, but I do believe that there's a higher power. And so whatever happens in life, and, I may think, why did that happen? But I truly think that things happen for a reason. So, I'm not a person who goes to church. I'm not a person who reads the Bible. I understand all of those things. I, have no qualm with any of them. It's just not who I am. I wasn't raised that way, but I do believe in prayer. I do believe that there's a higher power. I do believe that somebody guides our steps. And so when things happen, though I may question them, then I just go back to my belief that everything happens for a reason.
That's well said. And I think that we're kind of on the same page. I think I grew up in a really religious upbringing. I grew up in a Catholic household. And over time, I just came to have, I think our relationship with our higher power is definitely very a personal one. But I'm always curious with entrepreneurship, because I really feel like there has to be some type of alignment through the whole, wheel of life, so to speak, right? All the different areas of our life in alignment. And I've seen people that have been wildly successful, and you might have this experience to share too. Maybe you have clients you've worked with recently who have it all, seemingly, right? They've been super successful. They've made lots of money. They have a family, they have all the things, but there's still something that's missing. Right. And it's that last piece of the mental, spiritual alignment So is that something that you also work with within your
So I
coaching?
believe in alignment always. Like everything has to be in alignment, but what drives me and what keeps me sane is clarity, right? So I have to be very clear. So even in the past couple of weeks around Ladies Who Leverage, there was some, I wasn't as clear about, I knew what the vision was. I wasn't clear how I was going to get there. So that takes me out of alignment. When I am unclear, that just really throws me off. And so now I'm back in alignment. So I don't think of it, because I'm not a religious or a really spiritual person in that way. I don't think of it in those terms.
Okay.
I think about it in terms of being clear and being in alignment, and things that are not in alignment with what I'm doing need to go. Right?
Exactly.
Right. And I need to get clear, because when I'm clear, I'm unstoppable. So that's what happens to me, that I will be out of balance, and that you'll know, because I will get quiet. I will withdraw a little bit. I cry.
Yes.
Right? And I'm just not centered, right? I'm not centered, and I'm not settled. But the minute that I get clear, like I am laser focused. So like right now I am laser focused on what I need to do with Ladies Who Leverage.
I can feel it. I can feel the energy all the way from over here, Kelly. She's like, I am so clear. I felt it. But I totally agree. When I get off my game and I'm not clear, I get so emotional, and I start having, it just kind of wreaks havoc everywhere, right? So for me, it's meditation. For me, it's breath work, right? And I found like breath work is the fastest way to clarity that I found ever. So I share it with all of my clients. And actually, I'd love to invite you to come and experience breath work. We have it on Wednesday night.
Now you will be really good if you can get me to do it, because I've tried yoga. My mind does not stay still. I am always thinking, and I have never been able to quiet my mind. So I'll be doing yoga, and they're saying, oh yeah, and just be, think about going to the beach. And I'm like, man, what do I have to do? Yeah, that doesn't work. I'm like, okay, I need to go back, and I need to do this, and I need to do that. So my brain's always moving.
And that's a real common complaint, actually. Like everybody who comes for their first time is like, I don't know if this is going to work. This seems really I don't know. I don't know if I can sit through the whole thing. And then magically at the end, they're like, whoa, what just happened? And I feel so clear and calm, and my mind is not talking to me. It's amazing.
That would be good. Yeah. Because my mind talks to me at 2:00 in the morning, 3:00 in the morning, and I sit and I keep saying sleep. Like in my mind, I just keep saying sleep, 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 so I can go back to sleep. And it's like, no, go get that pink journal you have over there and start writing down all the stuff that I'm telling you. So.
Or it gives you a best of reel of all the things that you said that might have been, or whatever, the best hits of, oh my gosh, I did that at 3 a.m. Yeah, I think maybe some people could identify with that. Great. So we'll switch it back over to entrepreneurship, because I would love, since you have such a wealth of knowledge, for you to share with the listeners maybe your top 3 tips for, as an entrepreneur, things that that they can look out for when starting a transition, actually, because I know that you work more with ladies in transition.
I mean, I work with them in all stages. So the women who are in our group are in all stages. But if I was to look at the way that I entered entrepreneurship this time, I would say have a plan. Really think about what you want to do. So I had been planning for 2 years to transition out of the full-time practice of law to become a speaker. I ended up getting pushed out. So I got fired, at the end of 2019, because they couldn't afford to pay me. And I had to make a decision. But luckily, I had for 2 years been building the foundation of that business. So when I came out, however I was going to come out, I wasn't going to be starting from scratch. So if it's something that you're thinking of doing, start to lay the foundation, start to save money. That was something that I didn't do as well, right? To save money, and use your job to fund your business, right? to get your dream in place. So I would say have a plan. Number 2, have systems in place. You talked about having a bookkeeper. Thankfully, this last year, I've always done our taxes. And thankfully, this last year, I got QuickBooks. So I was just like, here, accountant, take this, do that, right? And so, all the other systems that you need to have in place, regarding email marketing and, just all of the numbers of things that you have. And those are some of the things that we, make sure that people understand in Ladies Who Leverage. And then hire people, hire coaches, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we think that we know everything and we have a vision, but you don't necessarily know how to execute on that vision. I'm a master at reverse engineering. So if I can see it, I can create it, right? But also in creating it, I know that in that creation, there are resources that I need. And those resources include people, right? Those resources include education. Those resources include all kinds of other things. And so, so plan, have your systems in place, and hire coaches. Those are 3 things that I would say.
Perfect. I love that. And you had just and also mentioned a whole bunch of different points as well. And what part of your business did you automate that made life a lot easier for you?
So right now my email marketing is automated. And I've gone through the different ones from MailChimp to, I had MailChimp, I've had ConvertKit, I had ActiveCampaign, now I have Kartra. So, and then there's just all kinds of other stuff that's tied. So a lot of the things are tied together. So my Facebook is tied to, my Instagram is tied to my Social Bee, because Social Bee sends out all of my posts. So that has really been a lot of very helpful to have the social media platform be populated without me having to do it. And I still do, do things on my own, but it has its own, automation. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that has helped, because that can take a lot of time. But I'm still learning, right? All of the systems that I need. And as I talk to my different coaches, I learn, well, you have, like, the reason I got Kartra is because Kartra takes the place of 4 things or 5 things that I was doing, right? So I had to go to 5 different systems in order to do the thing that I can do all of it in one space. So as you start to grow and as you start to learn more, you learn about all of these different things. So what you need, right? What you need when you first start, not what you can have, but what you need when you first start is not necessarily what you're going to need later. And sometimes if you understand what the bigger vision is, right? So I was talking to Allison Maslin did a room in Clubhouse the other day, and she was talking about scaling. And I've always been told that, scaling is not something that you think about right now. Scaling is what you think about later. And she was like, no, from the very beginning, you should be thinking about scaling. And so, in the beginning, some of the systems, so in the beginning, I didn't need a Kartra. However, if I had Kartra in the beginning, it would have just been easier to start building. But you learn, you live and you learn. And so, I'm still learning. I'm sure at some point I'll get something else. But I'm open, right? So you have to be open to being able to make those types of changes and those types of shifts and listening. But you also have to be mindful, because there's so many things out there and so many people telling you so many things. You cannot do what everybody says, and everything that everybody says is not right for your business.
Amen. She's like, mic drop from there. That's so true, though, because I think as entrepreneurs, it can be information overload. You get analysis paralysis, because there's literally, you go on to a ClickFunnels website and they have like 8,000 tutorials you can take, right? Then every single person that you talk to is going to tell you to do one thing. You'll learn 20 different ways to do one thing. So it really is just about getting started. Like, pick something, go with it. And I also love that you're encouraging everybody to think about scaling from the beginning, as they grow, because I think that might be a pitfall that most entrepreneurs make, is they kind of design the business, they design themselves into it in such a way where they can't exit it eventually. So, because the goal is to be able to have, like you said, to be able to scale and have people that would complement the business and be able to carry on.
Yeah, because I designed myself into Ladies Who Leverage, and as I see how much time it takes, I'm like, yeah, you need to design yourself.
She's like, I need to have an exit plan.
I need an exit strategy, but I will always be. It's funny because I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking about, you know, the whole concept of scaling and scaling Ladies Who Leverage. And one of the things that I hope to always keep in Ladies Who Leverage is the ability for the women in the group to have contact with me, right? And I think that's one of the things that is probably unique about Ladies Who Leverage, in that they can call me, they can text me, they have access to me, even though I'm the person who runs this whole group. They actually have access. I'm not just some name that, you know, started the group. And I hope to keep that up. I know as it gets bigger, I'll have less opportunities to be always be wherever, but I want that to be a mainstay, that I'm not just a name somewhere, that I'm actually a name, a face, a person that they can speak to.
I love that. I saw Grant Cardone's event a couple weeks ago, and he had Tommy Hilfiger on stage. And that was one of the first things that he said. He was like, nobody thinks that Tommy Hilfiger is a real person anymore, because his brand has gotten so huge. Maybe people our age, they know that he's a real person, but there's a lot of people in the world that thought that he was just a brand, right? So I think it's so important for people to know that there's actually a woman behind all the magic, and that she's accessible.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate all of the time that you spent chatting with us and just sharing your wisdom and your vision. I'm so excited to see the things that you create in the world and to collaborate more with you.
Yeah.
So as we end, what is the best way for people to find you, work with you, reach out to you?
Okay. So for Ladies Who Leverage, go to team, so TEAM as in Mary, LWL.com. And that's how you can join the group. And when you come into the group, come in and hang out for a little while in the free group, but really think about becoming an investor, because that's where really the magic happens. And if somebody wants to talk to me about speaking, then they can go to my website, kellycharlescollins.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for being on the show today. And to all the listeners that are out there, if you've been listening all the way through, we really, really appreciate you. And while I have you, I am going to invite you guys to come and take advantage of the breathwork circle that I host every Wednesday night. It's 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you can sign up by going to the website breathewithriss.com. All right. Well, until next time, guys, thank you again for joining us, and stay connected, be kind, live in gratitude, and be light. Bye for now.